Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru. The voice of God calls us to awaken him. How will he find us when he comes?
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate our lives ever more perfectly to him, how will he find us?
Awake and ready.
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Friend, beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Great Masters,
Great Masters,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Beloved Guru,
Beloved Guru,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Saints of all religions,
Saints of all religions,
we humbly and lovingly bow before thee.
we humbly and lovingly bow before thee.
Bless and guide us
Bless and guide us
with ever deeper conviction,
with ever deeper conviction,
ever deeper faith,
with ever deeper faith,
determination,
determination,
and devotion
devotion,
to offer ourselves to thee,
to offer ourselves to
to
thee,
create a life
to create a life
given to thee
given to
given to
thee,
thee,
and sharing thee with all.
and sharing thee with all.
Om. Peace.
peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to our Festival of Light service. Dharma Devi sends her love. She wasn't feeling well this morning, so she's not with us, but she sends her love and blessings to everyone.
Lord Most High, our Heavenly Father, all our lives we dedicate to Thee. All our labors, all our joys and woes, all our pleasure, all our melody. Make us each a channel of Thy peace. When in darkness, guide us from above. Where there's sorrow, may we sow Thy joy. Where there's hatred, may we share Thy love.
Let's affirm together, as Yogananda Ji taught, first in a strong voice out loud, and we'll take it progressively softer and softer. I will love others as extensions of my own self and of the love I feel from God.
My name is Puta, and I'll be reading from Rays of the One Light, Weekly Commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. This week's topic: did God create the universe or become it? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The Gospel of St. John, chapter 1, contains a passage that explains the essential truth that creation is a process of becoming. The universe is not separate from God the Creator, but a part of Him, even as our own dream creations, during sleep, are figments of our consciousness. God's is the life, God's the reality. Not a melody could be composed, not a poem written, were the melody and the poem not already there, simply waiting to be expressed. In Him was life, and the life was the light of men, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Ego-directed desire is like static. It distorts the radioed messages of infinity, but the pristine impulse from the divine, undistorted by limitation and delusion, is the life that gives rise to all that is. As the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita states, I am the fluidity of water. I am the silver light of the moon and the golden light of the sun. I am the Om chanted in all the Vedas, the cosmic sound moving as if soundlessly through the ether. I am the manliness of men. I am the good sweet smell of the moist earth. I am the luminescence of fire, the sustaining life of all living creatures. I am self-offering in those who would expand their little lives into cosmic life. O Arjuna, know me as the eternal seed of all creatures. In the perceptive, I am their perception. In the great, I am their greatness. In the glorious, it is I who am their glory. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Good morning again, friends. I want to share from Yogananda's book of Prayer Demands, Whispers from Eternity. Nayaswami Jyotish was sharing in one of his recent blogs that he's been taking up this practice at the end of his meditations to read one of these whispers. Highly recommended. Master said there was only a few scriptures that he read from, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, and Whispers from Eternity. And this one is called Teach Me. Though crushed by criticism, to return always sweet forgiveness. Teach me to behave like the orange, which though crushed and bitten, never fails to impart its sweetness. Battered by unkindness, gnawed at by carping criticism, or hewn with hard words and cruel behavior, teach me yet to pour out unceasingly the sweetness of love. Teach me to be like soap flakes, which when rubbed and beaten, give out only cleansing foam. Tried and tested by ingratitude, teach me nevertheless to offer in return the snow-white foam of wisdom. I was reflecting on the topic today, did God create the universe or become it? And we are, of course, in uncharted territory with the world drama that we're all facing. And, you know, you can go from these sort of big cosmic things to then just something completely mundane and ridiculous comes up. So I wanted to share a really silly experience that I had with Dharma Devi yesterday. And she, Dharma Devi is from the South. For those of you who don't know that, she's from Georgia. And she actually does like some Southern food. And so she found this place in Los Angeles called Solely Vegan. And it's a vegan restaurant that serves sort of Southern-based dishes. Like one of them was fried chicken. And so I asked Dharma Devi, I said, what is fried chicken? Now, we weren't really eating chicken, it was a fake. You know, Master actually started those vegetarian burgers. He had a mushroom burger and he had a burger that was made from wheat gluten. So it was that type of thing. And I asked Dharma Devi, well, what is chicken fried steak? Is it chicken or is it steak? And she said, no, it's a steak that's fried like a chicken. And I said, oh, okay. well, why don't they just call it fried steak? And she said, well, they don't do that. It's called chicken fried steak. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, well, what's the difference between chicken fried chicken? Because there's something else called chicken fried chicken. And I said, that's chicken, right? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, what's the difference between chicken fried chicken and just fried chicken? And she said, nothing. They just call it chicken fried chicken. And I said, oh, okay. I think I got it. Or not. I'm not sure. I'm still, my head was spinning. But my point in telling this really odd little vignette of my day yesterday with Dharma Devi is that life doesn't make sense. You know, what we're going through with the world right now, it does not make sense. Master had that experience. I believe it's in the autobiography, and it was before he came to America, when he was in India still, and it was during World War I, and so he had gone into, he had seen a little newsreel of the footage of the death and the carnage from World War I. And it left him deeply disturbed. And so after he came out of that little newsreel and watching that footage, he prayed to God. He said, Lord, why do you allow this suffering? And then he heard a response come to him. He heard God say, look deeply. And he saw this vision that was even more real, he said, than the footage he had just seen. He saw people on the battlefield in World War I, people dying, and all of the atrocities of that war. And he heard the light, he heard God saying to him, now look more deeply, that this light, it's just a play of light and shadow. And it's my light behind both of them. And Master said he still wasn't satisfied. And he asked God for a deeper response than that. And he said, my children, all of my children, are children of the light, and they will all come unto me. And then he saw the great beam, just like he would talk about the projectionist in the movie theater, projecting that beam. It's then when he looked up and he saw that great light of God that he realized that light was projecting both the evil behavior and the hero on that battlefield. And it was in that he was then satisfied. It's as long as we're on this level of feeling the pain and suffering of the world, we won't be satisfied. It will be like Krishna says to Arjuna in the Gita, to get away from my ocean of suffering and misery. The world, when we're caught up in the duality of the world, it's nothing but suffering and misery. It's nothing but trying to survive. You know, there was a man that was a Russian scientist. I forget his name. And he went to eastern Siberia to test his theory of survival of the fittest. You know, and you would think in that climate in Siberia that only the fittest animals and species would survive. But what this scientist, what he found was quite the contrary, that it was the animals that cooperated. They were the ones that were able to survive in those harsh conditions. It's a lesson for us that Divine Mother, as long as we put up a veil of separation that we have to walk it alone. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt tired or just like you can't go on anymore? We've all gone through those experiences, of course. But it's not until, like in athlete catches a second wind, it's not until we surrender our troubles, all of our foibles, everything, all of our identifications that keep that veil and keep that separation, that we can then open up to the divine flow, to the divine spirit. It's allowing those blessings to flow through us. Yeah, this is why when people would touch Master's feet in the Indian custom of the disciple touching the Guru's feet, he would bring his hand up to his forehead, his thumb like this, directing their blessings to God. Right? The great ones always direct their blessings back to their true source, to their source in everything, which is God. And so, for us, it's important to ask these questions, not intellectually, but to actually probe them spiritually. Well, did God create the world or did he become it? Well, before that, why? Why did the Lord even create this world? Well, we can ask that. Why would he permit, like Master asked, why would he permit this kind of suffering? Why would he permit this pandemic? Why would he permit the riots that we've had, the death, all of the upheaval? Because it is his show. It's his play. And it's our opportunity to go deeper into our love for God. You know, Swami used to say that, well, why God created this universe? Because God's nature is divine bliss, right? The Spirit of God is Sat Chit Ananda, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And it is the nature of bliss to expand. Blah, 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 blah. We hear Mila in the background. It's the nature of joy. It wants to expand. It wants to share itself. So work with our nature. That is God's nature. So if we learn that it's his nature, it wants to expand and share, and we are from him, we have that inherent bliss within us. And like Swami gave that beautiful definition, he said, bliss is love in motion. We all have this impetus. We all have this spark within us, and we're going to be propelled until we return it to its source. Even during these deeply challenging times, it offers us an incredible opportunity, right? An opportunity to love, an opportunity to be a channel. So if we have this hint from God on why he created the universe, to enjoy himself, to expand his bliss, and we have a deeper understanding of how he did it, as Swami is sharing in the reading today, that it's a process of becoming. And it's just like, if you've heard of George Washington Carver, he was a humble man, and he said, if you love something enough, it will reveal its mysteries to you. And he's the man that he discovered all of these uses for the humble peanut. Over 50 uses for the peanut, from peanut oil. And of course, we all know peanut butter, but there's a lot of other things that the peanut can be used for. But it was through his communion with the peanut, by actually loving God, loving the spark, the divine within that little part of God's creation, that it revealed mysteries to him. So if the peanut can reveal that, how much we can unearth from other aspects of God's creation? What about our brothers and sisters? You know, rather than getting caught in the polarization and the divisive energy that's being run through this world right now, to ask ourselves as well, what do we admire? What do we look up to? Who do we look up to? Yeah, that's an important thing for us to remember. It's like that old saying that you can know a culture by who it looks up to. You can understand a culture by its heroes, so to speak. And that's why India, and Swami used to say, India is the guru of the world. And India is the guru of the world because it reveres saints. It reveres realized masters because they are the ones, in a very real sense, they manifest that divine creation, right? And the source of divine creation. They are a perfect manifestation of divine love. And they don't, and the great ones, right, they come with no desire. They only have that desireless desire to help us. I've been thinking about that recently because we just celebrated Master's birthday. We had Christmas. We had the New Year. It's like we had 1, 2, 3. You have 3 births. We just had 3 births. And what are those births? They're a reminder of that second coming of the Christ consciousness within us, our own yogi Christ potential, to allow that love of God to be born within us. They come to remind us, when we need you, Lord, you descend. When the world is in need, in deep need, that's when the great ones come. And they come to remind us again and again because people, we miss the point. Quite free. I mean, I'm sure you can relate. We often miss the point. The point isn't the project. The point is perfecting our love for God. And we have this opportunity in our daily life to love God through other people. But how do we do that? We can't do it with human love. We have to call on the power of divine love and ask that we be channels for divine love. Master said it, that only love could take his place. We can be humble servants. We can be humble instruments for a touch of that divine love. A little bit of kindness, a smile to a stranger. These little simple acts, we have no realize how profound they are and what a ripple effect they have on our planet. Our best protection is the silence of our soul, is being in that inward communion with God and loving God so much that we just share. It's just the natural radiance of the soul to share it. And that's why Gandhi used to say that in the midst of death, life persists. That's this reading, that he was the life and he was the life of men. What is that life? It's that invisible spark of spirit that's within us. And we all have that. And we can all use it. God has given it to us for our free use. He is the manliness of men, in this Bhagavad Gita reading today. What that really means is not the misinterpretation, right? The hyper-masculinity that we have rampant in our world today. No, that's not what Krishna means. The manliness of men, meaning that we are been given this gift of free will. We have the opportunity to choose how we will use our divine gift, that divine gift of love that's been implanted within our hearts. So even though, that's why I wanted to share this whisper today, even though we're crushed like the orange, we're bitten, we're beaten, think of Christ. What did he return? Only love and forgiveness. That's what we're being asked to do right now. Because this world, we're going through a major upheaval in the world. Swami talked about it again and again. I wanted to share actually one quote that Swami wrote about what's happening to our planet to give us some context as well. He said, the conflict between the dying rigidity and dogmatism of Kali Yuga and the newborn openness of Dwapara Yuga seems destined to flare into open conflict before long. We may indeed live to see another world war, far more devastating than the last. We may suffer other types of disasters, plagues, worldwide depression, even global cataclysm, ere human consciousness becomes enough softened to receive, without obstructing them, the rays of Dwapara Yuga. Swami wrote that in 1973. It sounds like he wrote it yesterday. This is why we came. We came for this time. We came for this opportunity to be emissaries of light, of hope, of kindness, that even amidst the crash of breaking worlds, that we can stand unshaken in our commitment, in our love for God, and being of service to our fellow man. Let's remember Babaji's advice as well to us, that this world can't exist without, it's like the commingling of sugar and sand, right, of light and shade, that you can't have a play without the villain and the hero, and that we see the villain only to inspire us to be the hero, to be good, but we become like the wise ant who only takes the sugar in this world and he leaves the sand. So this is God's dream. It's not that we don't take responsibility and take our part, but we take our part and our responsibility first and foremost of loving Him ever more deeply and sharing His love ever more sincerely in every moment of our lives. God bless you.
God is our Father, our Mother too. God is our dearest treasure. God's ever near, the one friend who loves us without any measure. Of His dreams our